Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Hello? Okay. Yeah. Okay, can we start now then? So today's lecture is on fixed prosthodontics, including the dental material part of the fixed prosthodontics. So let's begin with the MCQ questions. So the first question is, fins or spines on casting are produced due to? The correct answer is rapid heating rate. So the explanation for this is that when rapid heating is occurring, it results in fins or spines or characteristic surface, like you can see in the diagram. So this projections on the casting surface, these are called the fins or the spines. So mold, the precaution that should be taken is that the mold should be heated gradually, or at least 60 minutes should elapse from the room temperature to 700 degrees Celsius. Then the second question is, addition of surface active agent like gum arabic with lime to hemihydrates would decrease the water requirement. So if we add gum arabic or any organic substances to the calcium sulfate hemihydrate, it would decrease the water requirement. Any doubts in these two questions? Okay, the first one or the second one? Okay, I'll go back to the first question. Fins or spines on casting are produced due to? The correct answer is rapid heating rate. So when we are heating the mold cavity during casting, if the heating rate is too fast, then it produces characteristic fins or spines, like you can see in this diagram. These projections which are there, thin needle-like projections can be seen on the casting surface. So these are due to rapid heating rate of the investment material or the mold cavity. So the precaution that should be taken is that the mold should be heated gradually. At least 60 minutes should be taken for the temperature to reach from 0 to 700 degrees Celsius. So that is the precaution that we should take to prevent the casting from having fins or spines. I'll move on to the third question. Third question is, incomplete casting is the result of? The correct answer is narrow sprue diameter. So how does it happen is that if the sprue diameter is very thin or narrow, the molten metal will solidify in the sprue itself, and it will not reach the mold cavity. So this is the reason for an incomplete casting. So the diameter of the sprue is very narrow, the molten metal will not flow into the mold cavity and it will solidify inside the mold itself. So larger diameter is recommended for improved flow of metal. 10 gauge sprue is recommended for molar metal ceramic pattern, while 12 gauge sprue is recommended for premolar partial coverage. Also, you should remember that larger the gauge of the sprue, smaller will be the diameter. So 10 gauge sprue has a diameter of 2.5 mm, while the 12 gauge sprue has a diameter of 2 mm. It's clear? Also in this slide or the diagram, you can see the pattern of the sprue, how the main sprue is attached to the accessory sprues. So as I told you, if the sprue is too thin or long, metal solidifies in the sprue before it goes to the larger cavities. So molten metal can be drawn from the reservoir and it results in incomplete casting or shrink spot porosity occurs in the bulkiest part of the casting. Any doubts regarding this question? Okay, someone has asked about reservoir. What's the question? What is a reservoir, or why is reservoir mentioned over here? See, reservoir is a portion in the sprue which has a larger diameter compared to the rest of the sprue. So it prevents a localized shrinkage porosity so that excess metal is there. And the location of reservoir is 3 to 4 mm before the pattern or the casting. So reservoir helps in prevention of the localized shrinkage porosity and provides a regular supply of molten metal. Now can we move on? So the next question, question number 4, is also based on the reservoir only. So we have discussed this. So this question will also be clear now. So the next 4th question is, with indirect spruing, which one of the following porosities can be minimized? So indirect spruing is another name for reservoir. So the correct answer would be localized shrinkage porosity. Okay, next question. Which one of the following is not added in small amount to be used as grain refiners? So this is a fact-based question. The correct answer is platinum. Iridium, ruthenium and indium are added in small amounts and they act as grain refiners. While platinum, to act as grain refiner, it needs to be added in greater amount, which is more than 5%. So platinum has a high fusion temperature and is one of the 8 noble metals. The purpose of platinum is that it whitens the alloy and provides resistance to tarnish and corrosion. On the other hand, addition of large amounts of copper decreases fusion temperature, while indium, ruthenium, rhenium helps to decrease the grain size and they are added in small quantities, that is 100 to 150 parts per million. But platinum can serve this purpose only when it is added in large amount, that is 3% or more. So the question asked over here is, which one of the following is added in small amount? So the correct answer here would be platinum. Okay, if any doubt is there, you can post in the message box. I'll move to the next question. Question number 6. The most successful material for soft liner application have been. The correct answer would be silicone rubbers. So for soft liner applications, two materials are most commonly used. Those are acrylic based materials and silicone based materials. So the advantage with silicone based materials are that they provide more tissue resilience, so soft liners of plasticized acrylic, vinyl polymers and copolymers as well as natural and silicone rubber products are used as denture liners for patients having irritation of denture bearing mucosa or patients having severe undercuts or congenital or acquired defects of palate. The main problem associated with soft denture liners or silicone based liners are that they attract canidal infection. They provide a good medium for canidal growth. Another problem which occurs with silicone based liners compared to acrylic based liners is that they possess a poor bond strength as compared to the acrylic based soft liners. Another problem is of color stability. They tend to get stained over a period of time, so they need to be changed very frequently. Someone has asked why silicone rubbers, impression plaster cannot be used as a soft liner material, even waxes cannot be used as a soft liner material, irreversible hydrocolloids are impression materials. So this is the only logical answer in this question. There is no doubt regarding silicone rubbers as a most successful material because all the others cannot be used as a soft liner material. Till date, we do not have any soft liner material which has all the ideal properties. Acrylic based materials have less resilience as compared to silicone based liners, but on the other hand, they possess greater bond strength to the acrylic. With silicone based liners, the resilience or the comfort level of the patient is better, but problem is with the bond strength and color stability and canidal infection. So till date we do not have an ideal material, but out of the options available over here, this is the only material which can be used as a soft liner. So silicone rubbers are the successful material for soft liner applications. Next question is, which is a potassium aluminum silicate material with a large coefficient of thermal expansion? So correct answer is lucite. This is also a fact based question. You have to remember some facts about lucite. We will see now. Lucite is potassium aluminum silicate. It is formed by feldspar at 1150 degrees centigrade to 1530 degrees centigrade by incongruent melting. Lucite is a major crystalline component of dental porcelains. The presence of tetragonal lucite in dental porcelains increases their coefficient of thermal expansion due to high coefficient of thermal expansion. This is particularly useful for those porcelains designed for bonding to precious metals and nickel alloys. So lucite is potassium aluminum silicate. Next question, question number 8. Addition of chromium to casting base metal alloy does not cause. So the main reason for adding chromium to adding base metal alloys is that chromium is a passivating material or a passivating metal. So chromium forms chromium oxide, which is called as passivation. It provides corrosion resistance, while it also increases hardness and tensile strength. It does not cause a decrease in modulus of elasticity, since it's causing an increase in tensile strength and hardness. So addition of chromium does not increase the modulus of, does not decrease the modulus of elasticity. So that is the first option. So let's have a look at some of the properties of chromium again. Chromium increases the corrosion resistance, increases the hardness, increases tensile strength, reduces the melting point, and 30% of chromium is considered the upper limit for attaining maximum mechanical properties. If you want, you can remember the melting point, boiling point and density as well, which is given below. Okay, moving on to the next question. The function of fluoride flux in soldering of cobalt-chromium alloy is. So the function of flux is to, in a cobalt-chromium alloy, is to decrease the formation of chromium oxide. In the last test also we had discussed about the types of fluxes. So we had seen last time that base metal alloys form very strong oxides. So we need some solvent in the form of flux which can dissolve these oxides. So the correct answer over here would be to decrease the formation of chromium oxide, because base metal alloys form stronger oxides. So the function of fluoride fluxes in a base metal alloy is to dissolve or decrease the formation of chromium oxide. So it is a compound used to dissolve or prevents the formation of oxides or other undesirable material from the surface of the part to be soldered or brazed. It increases the quality or strength of a soldered metal. And fluxes can be classified into type 1, type 2 and type 3. The type 1 being surface, which provides surface protection. Type 2 act as reducing agents and type 3 act as solvents. So type 1 and type 2 are mostly borate based fluxes which are used for noble and high noble alloys. While type 3, the fluoride fluxes are used as solvent. Fluoride fluxes may also be used in post soldering. Now question number 10, which form of stainless steel is used for manufacturing of orthodontic wire? The correct answer would be austenitic stainless steel. So let's have a look about some of the properties of austenitic stainless steel. So why is austenitic stainless steel used for dental applications? Because it has greater ductility, ability to undergo more cold working without fracture, which is required in orthodontic practice. You need to modify the wire at every appointment and still the wire should not fracture. Another property is that it undergoes substantial strengthening during cold working. So the strength is also increased during cold working. So this is occurring by some transformation to the martensitic face. And it has ability to overcome sensitization and less critical to grain growth. Cold working is when you are repeatedly bending or modifying the wire, giving bends continuously, that is called as cold working. So some of the metals undergo decrease in strength or they are brittle if you cold work them more. But austenitic stainless steel has a property of strengthening during cold working. So when you are constantly modifying or bending the wire, that is called as cold working. And during this, strengthening is also occurring, so there are less chances of wire fracture. I'll go back to the previous slide of fluxes. Someone has asked for it. Okay, the question slide of question number 10. Which form of stainless steel is used for manufacturing of orthodontic wire? Okay, so someone has asked what is sensitization. Sensitization is a process when if you expose the steel material and heat it at temperatures of 500 to 600 degrees centigrade, then chromium tends to precipitate and form chromium carbides. So in this process of precipitation of chromium carbides, chromium is depleted from the boundaries. So when chromium is depleted from the boundaries, it becomes susceptible to tarnish and corrosion at the boundaries. So this process is called sensitization. So austenitic stainless steel is resistant to sensitization because there are some carbides already added to the austenitic stainless steel to stabilize it. So this is called as stabilization. So now is the sensitization term clear? Sensitization is due to depletion of chromium at the borders and which increases the corrosion resistance. Due to precipitation of chromium carbide, so this leads to depletion of chromium and it becomes susceptible to corrosion. This process is called as sensitization. Question number 11. It's a straightforward question. Passivation effect in any alloy is imparted due to which of the following? So passivation is a property of chromium by which it forms chromium oxide and prevents any metal from tarnish and corrosion because chromium oxide forms a protective layer on the metal surface. Now question number 12. A metal which has been cold worked would exhibit. Just now we saw that during cold working of stainless steel there is increase of strength. So cold working increases the strength of the metal. Correct answer is increased strength. The cold working of the metal increases the hardness, yield strength and tensile strength. The effects of cold working may be reversed by annealing the material at high temperature where recovery and recrystallization reduce the dislocation density. Okay, question number 11 once again. Question number 13. Add-on glazes are preferred to self-glaze on ceramics as it shows. So first I'll tell you what are add-on glazes and what are self-glazes. Glazed ceramic is a final layer which provides the final luster or shiny layer to the porcelain. So self-glaze is when you apply the final layer and you put it in the furnace on the glaze cycle, the material itself produces a glaze layer. while add-on glazes possess a different material which has to be put after the ceramic firing is complete. So here the question asked is, add-on glazes are preferred to self-glaze on ceramics as it shows. The correct answer would be none of the above, as self-glazes are preferred over add-on glazes. Why? Because add-on glaze contains more glass modifiers and thus tend to reduce the resistance of applied glaze to leaching by oral fluids. So add-on glaze layer has more glass modifiers and is susceptible to leaching by the oral fluids. Okay, someone has asked about annealing. So annealing is a heat treatment given to alloys to reverse the effects of cold working. The effects of cold working may be reversed by annealing heat treatment. Annealing heat treatment is a process of heating the alloy at a temperature of around 400 to 450 degrees centigrade. This high temperature produces recrystallization and reduces the dislocation density. So by this method, the effects of cold working are reversed. Now I'll move on to the next question. Should I move on to the next question? Someone has asked, why do you apply add-on glaze, or where do you apply add-on glaze? Add-on glaze is applied after the total ceramic firing is complete, but if you compare add-on glaze to self-glaze, self-glaze is always preferred because of the leaching properties of add-on glaze. The purpose of using both add-on and self-glaze is the same, but the properties of self-glaze are better than the add-on glaze. So next question, question number 14th is, driving force for condensation of porcelain is? First option is intense vibration of metal substructure. Second option is intense spatulation of wet porcelain. Third is application of dry porcelain powder around the wet porcelain powder. Fourth is none of the above. The correct answer is none of the above, because all the above three options, they provide a method of condensation, that they are a method of condensation of the porcelain, but they are not the driving force for the condensation of the porcelain. The driving force is a surface tension of water that binds all the particles together. So the driving force in condensation of porcelain is the surface tension of water that binds all the particles together, while the above three options are the methods of achieving condensation of ceramic. Driving force means which is the main factor which is causing the condensation of porcelain. Now question number 15. Which of the following methods can be used for fabricating metal substructure for metal ceramic prosthesis? Options are CAD-CAM, which is the correct answer. Options are, second option is electrodeposition, which can also be used for making metal ceramic substructure for metal ceramic prosthesis. Third is capillary casting technology, which is also a method of fabricating substructure for metal ceramic prosthesis. Can anyone give me an example for a capillary casting technology? Which system utilizes the capillary casting technology? Can anyone give me the answer for this? Have you heard about the CapTech system? CapTech. So this CapTech system is an example of capillary casting technology. So this capillary casting technology means in this CapTech system a very thin gold foil is there which is adapted onto the die of the prepared tooth. So the advantage with capillary casting technology is that the thickness of the coping is very less. It is even less than 0.5. The thickness of the coping is around 0.3 mm. And it is made of noble metal alloys or gold alloys. So the correct answer over here would be all of the above, because all the methods can be used to fabricate substructure for metal ceramic prosthesis. Question number 16. The amount of strain that porcelain can undergo before fracturing is? Correct answer is 0.1%. Value based question, you have to memorize it, nothing to explain in this. So the amount of strain that porcelain can undergo before fracturing is 0.1%. So now moving on to the next question, question number 17. Question number 17 is chemical tempering of porcelain involves. Correct answer is potassium ions from solution replacing the sodium ions in the ceramic. So first we will see what is chemical tampering. Chemical tampering is a method of incorporating residual compressive stress within the porcelain. Why do we need to incorporate residual compressive stresses within the porcelain? Please answer me, why do we need to incorporate residual compressive stresses within the porcelain? Residual compressive stresses are incorporated into the porcelain because porcelain is a brittle material and it has a tendency for crack propagation. So to prevent the crack from propagating, residual compressive stresses are incorporated into the porcelain to prevent the propagation of the crack. So in chemical tampering, potassium ions from the bath exchange places with some of the sodium ions in the surface of the ceramic and occupy this space. Since potassium is about 35% larger than the sodium ions, squeezing of potassium ions into the place formerly occupied by sodium ions creates very large residual compressive stresses. Now question number 18. The chief disadvantage of gypsum dyes are its poor abrasion resistance. Gypsum dyes have high setting expansion which is actually beneficial for us because any casting has casting shrinkage. So to compensate for that we need high setting expansion to account for the casting shrinkage. Gypsum dyes also have adequate strength. Problem is the abrasion resistance. So when the technician is fabricating a wax pattern or carving the margins near the margin prepared, the gypsum dye itself may get abraded because of its poor abrasion resistance. Now question number 19. Dyes prepared from epoxy resins usually show Since epoxy resins are a resin material, so they have a property of polymerizing shrinkage. So the dyes formed from epoxy resin would be undersized and the shrinkage occurs more in the axial direction. That is why the dyes made of epoxy resins are undersized axially. Question number 20. During fabrication of electroplated dyes, the throwing power of an electroplating apparatus can be increased by. Correct option is increasing acid content of the plating solution. So what is throwing power? Throwing power refers to the penetration of current into a concave structure such as an impression for a full crown. Impression of teeth have walls that have sufficient depth relative to the location of occlusal area. Therefore, the addition of acid is required to increase the throwing power of the solution. So throwing power can be increased by increasing the acid content of the solution. Okay, question number 20 once again. During fabrication of electroplated dyes, the throwing power of an electroplating apparatus can be increased by. Correct answer is increasing acid content of the plating solution. Since the impression is a concave structure, and the current has to flow deep into the walls of the prepared tooth. So addition of acid is required to increase the throwing power. In other ways, it could be described as the depth of penetration of the electrolyte or the current which is flowing. So for increased depth of penetration, the throwing power should be increased. And how should the throwing power be increased? By addition of acid to the solution. Question number 21. For titanium casting, which of the following machines are used?